It is Thursday, December 10th. This is Jaguars Happy Hour. And now, the guy with the most subscriptions to Folio magazine, J.P. Shadrick.
No. But vote early and often for Jaguars Happy Hour as best radio show. You can vote until tomorrow. Welcome in to Jaguars Happy Hour. J.P. Shadrick, Jeff Lageman with us, Tony Boselli coming up in a bit. Here's what's on the show today. A Titans-Jaguars preview, part 2. These teams met back in week 2. They'll meet in week 14 coming up Sunday. Mike Glennon gets the start at quarterback for a third straight week. A defensive challenge this week against this Titans offense. Derrick Henry leads the way. Tannehill, the quarterback, playing well with the weapons outside. Tony Boselli at 4:30 today joining us. And the Doug Marrone Show at 5 o'clock on the Jaguars Radio Network. Jeff Lageman with us now. Logs, it's part 2. Part 1 featured a big rally for the Jags to tie the game 30-30 back in week 2, but a late field goal for the Titans won that one. And since then, these franchises have gone in opposite directions. The Jaguars lost not only that one, but the next 10 straight. The losing streak continues. The Titans are 8-4. They're in first place in the division with hopes and dreams of a playoff run here in December. It's two different organizations right now.
Well, certainly. And I think Mike Vrabel and John Robinson have done a really good job in Tennessee with that football team because they have a great back, and they're really leaning on the great back for them to be competitive. You know, their defense is not great, and I think the Jaguars ought to be able to score some points on them. I mean, look at what the Cleveland Browns were able to do last week. So I think it's going to be a good matchup. A lot of people around the nation and fans of football are predicting that the Tennessee Titans are going to walk all over the Jaguars, and I just don't see it. I think this is going to be a very competitive game, and I think it will come down to the wire.
I like it. I like that. We've had a few of those feelings lately, but just unable to finish them. Let's start, though, with the Derrick Henry conversation because that's where it really begins for the Tennessee Titans. He's the leading rusher in the NFL this year. The most carries, the most yardage, the second most rushing touchdowns. And back in week 2, the Jags did a pretty good job of bottling him up. Only 3.4 yards per carry. That was in the early part of the season, of course, when the Jaguars were really focused on stopping the run after everything that had happened in the season before against the run for this defense. Well, we all know the history Derrick Henry has against the Jaguars organization with stiff arms and long runs. And Todd Wash today, Jaguars defensive coordinator, said that is in the practice plan this week.
He's got a hell of a stiff arm, and we work drills specifically, obviously, this week when we go against Derrick every time we play him. So his stiff arm is something that we work on each week when we play him.
All right, eyes to thighs, he said a little bit later in the press conference today. That's really the plan. You don't want to go high on this guy because he's going to swat you away.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say that. I think you have to have a tackling plan, and it depends on who you are, JP. If you're a cornerback, then obviously you don't want to take him up high because he's a 250-pound back, and it's just very rare to see a running back in the National Football League of that size. And Todd's talking about how they have drills that are specific to the stiff arm, and you got to have them because he does. He's got a great stiff arm, and the drills for the stiff arm are kind of two different ways in which you work on it, and that you literally lift the arm up as he's coming out with it, or you chop your arm down on it in a chopping motion to knock it off. And that's not easy to do because he's really good. He's really long, and a lot of times when you're trying to do that, you're not even reaching him yet. And that's why his stiff arm is so good because of his length. But he's a great back, and I think the circumstances also dictate where you're going to tackle him. If you're a defensive tackle, or if I'm a defensive end, and I'm tackling Derrick Henry. If I'm coming from the front, I'm probably going to go low. But if I'm coming from the side, I'm staying high because I'm big enough to be able to bring him down, and I'm also going for that ball. And he is great with ball security, but he's not immune. He had his first fumble loss this past week against the Cleveland Browns. and hopefully the Jaguars can find a way to get him to cough another one up. But the guy's a fantastic back, JP, and you better be ready. I mean, 9 games against the Jaguars that he's played, and I would say the first 4 or 5 of those games that he's played, he was kind of in a split time role at running back.
Yes.
So you're talking about 9 games with like 798 yards rushing. That's a pretty good number for Derrick Henry.
No doubt. And as you know, you got to get your shots in on him early in the play. Obviously, if he gets rolling and gets outside of contain and out against those little guys and gets that head of steam going, that's when he's the freight train outside and really hard to handle. So you got to keep him contained. So the edge, to your point, the defensive line, they've got to hold that edge this week and keep him on the interior. Is that a pretty accurate assessment?
Well, the Titans do a great job in that. First of all, every back once they get rolling is really that much tougher, and then I think it's probably more so the case for Derrick Henry, because you're talking about 250 pounds that gets rolling, and all of a sudden, when you're a 180, 190 pound defensive back, and you're starting to think about, oh my goodness, how am I going to tackle this guy that's coming at me? There's a little bit of a factor there to where you sit there and go, do I want to take the punishment? So defensive backs don't do very well, and the Tennessee Titans like to get him outside. He's great back at bouncing to the outside. They attack the outside. The Tennessee Titans have excellent blocking tight ends that allow them to do that, to get outside. But you're right, when he gets rolling like he did against the Jaguars a few years ago with this 99-yard run that we're looking at, I mean, I hate to say this because it was against the Jaguars, but I mean, it was one of the greatest runs in NFL history. And
yes,
because of the individual effort of Derrick Henry, JP, and I don't want to say it was a thing of beauty, but I mean, it's right up there with the Marshawn Lynch run that was just amazing.
No doubt. He's got a few of them on his resume, the big, long touchdown runs, and let's hope that the Jaguars can contain him a bit. Now, of course, when the Titans get rolling, they have the run game going, but then they play off the run game as well through the air, and Ryan Tannehill has put together a really solid season at quarterback for the Tennessee Titans. Last week, 3 touchdowns when they tried to rally back. A couple of those were late in the game, but 26 touchdowns for the season, 5 interceptions. He's been over 100 rating in 8 games this year, Logs. So they have the weapons outside. When Jonnu Smith, the tight end, is healthy, he's among the best in the league, and they can do some damage when they are balanced out on offense.
Yeah, because they have playmakers at all the positions. And first and foremost, give Ryan Tannehill credit. I mean, here was a guy that was considered a throwaway quarterback by the Miami Dolphins, and then he kind of gets reborn in Tennessee. And it helps to be reborn when you've got a running back like Derrick Henry. So I mean, that doesn't hurt. But the fact of the matter is that Ryan Tannehill on his own accord is still a very good passer. I mean, he's a 6th-rated passer in the National Football League this year. When you look at his numbers against the Jaguars historically, he completes almost 70% of his passes. He's an outstanding quarterback that does a great job at distributing the ball. And he has a little bit of an X factor, too, that he has mobility. And that's something that a lot of quarterbacks don't have, but he has. And everybody talks about him being a former wide receiver, and that's great and fine and dandy. And it does show that he's got some mobility. But he also has it's not like he is willy-nilly when he decides to run. I mean, it's a planned thing where he sees coverage that gives him an opportunity to find something down the field. So he's a smart quarterback, and he gives his team the ability to come back in some ball games. They scored a lot of points and nearly came back and made the game somewhat competitive against the Cleveland Browns. I watched the game last night, and they got it close. It wasn't like it was all of a sudden they were going to score and win, but he closed the gap. So he's capable, and the weapons that he has are really good. You're talking about Corey Davis, who's coming off a career best game this past week. Now, A.J. Brown, who we think is a marvelous player, and he's big and he's fast and he can run the go route. He had 2 fumbles this past game, and he's had some drops, and that's been a big issue with him. And he's a great vertical threat. I mean, a great vertical threat. And we talk about a big dude. I mean, I know that the guy in Seattle, his teammate from college, is a lot bigger and more freakishly big. But A.J. Brown is big in his own right now. He's a big cat. Now, the Titans lost Adam Humphries, who was kind of their third guy, kind of a possession type of receiver. So that's going to hurt a little bit. But they've got some other guys that are going to be able to step up. But the 2 big dogs are A.J. Brown, Jonnu Smith, or A.J. Brown and Corey Davis. And then when you add a Jonnu Smith in there, if he's healthy, that's a dangerous combination. When you have all that behind or win the passing game with Derrick Henry in the running game.
We're anxiously awaiting the injury report today. Jonnu Smith was limited yesterday with a knee issue, and Todd Wash said today he was really looking at that just to see, but has not come out officially yet. We'll keep you posted if it pops up here in the next hour or so on Jaguars Happy Hour. Hey, how about the Jags defense, Logs? Last week, it felt like they played a really solid game. I know the big three in Minnesota got their numbers at the end of the day. Dalvin Cook took 32 carries to get to his total last week. And you had some solid play on the defensive line from guys that in reality are probably rotational type players, but Smoot had his best game in a long time, a couple of sacks. And, considering the personnel that's on the field on defense right now, I thought they played a pretty good game last week. Now the challenge, of course, this week against Tennessee.
Sure, it's a bigger challenge that Minnesota doesn't have a strong offensive line, so you expected the Jaguars' defensive line to play a little bit better, and they did. But I think they found some stability, and when I say stability, I'm talking stability for the Jaguars, and that Daniel Ekuale and Costin in the middle at the defensive tackle spots, and then as the defensive ends, Adam Gott that's playing the strong side, and then Smoot playing kind of the open side, or what we call the eagle end. And I think it's a good combination. I think it gives you your best chance to win. And are these rotational type guys as far as on any other roster? Are they backups? I mean, you could make the argument that most teams would probably replace two of those guys. And I'm not saying that any particular two that it is. I'm just saying take your pick out of the two because you'd like to upgrade somewhere and have a dominant player. But I think they're solid. They do their job. They don't get out of their gap. And that gives you a chance, and I think it reflects also in the linebacker play. If you look at the performance of Joe Schobert and Miles Jack last week, which is pretty doggone good, and especially Joe Schobert, it was due in large part to the performance of the defensive line. They had a really good outing, I thought. Can they build on that this week against Tennessee Titans offensive line? We'll see. But the Tennessee Titans, this is not the same offensive line that we've been talking about for the last couple of years going, oh, my goodness, they're so good, and Taylor Lewan's the best at left tackle. Well, Taylor Lewan is out with a significant knee injury, and Quisenberry is playing left tackle, kind of a journeyman player that overcame cancer, and they've got some other players in there that are good, but they're not the kind of offensive line that strikes fear in anybody's eyes.
A lot of changes up front there in Tennessee for sure, and we'll see if the Jaguars defense can take advantage this week and get something done up front against this Titans offense. We've got plenty more ahead on Jaguars Happy Hour, including Mike Glennon getting a third start. And what's up with Gardner Minshew? We'll hear about that coming up. 4:30, Tony Boselli joining us on the program. We'll go around the National Football League a little later as well. The Doug Marrone Show at 5 o'clock. We're off and running. It's Jaguars Happy Hour on a Thursday afternoon on the Jaguars Digital Network.
Jaguars fans, did you know that with Drizzly, you can get Tito's handmade vodka delivered to your door in under 60 minutes? Well, you can. And now they're giving all fans $10 off their first order. Use the code JAGS10 at checkout. Just download the Drizzly app or go to drizzly.com and make sure you're all set to mix it up with Tito's handmade vodka for the perfect game day. That's DRIZLY.com. And remember to use the special code JAGS10 to save $10 on your first order. 80 proof Tito's handmade vodka. Distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas. Crafted to be savored responsibly.
Dreamfinders Homes has a simple commitment to their home buyers. Deliver unsurpassed quality, uncompromising value, and an extraordinary level of customization you simply won't find with other home builders. With over 40 communities to choose from, you'll find a location you love and the home of your dreams. Dreamfinders has townhomes, single-family homes, and custom estate homes starting from the high 100s and a wide selection of move-in ready homes. Quality, value, customization. That's the Dreamfinders difference. Call 904-738-0165 or online at dreamfindershomes.com. Dreamfinders Homes, the official home builder of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Prices subject to change without notice. Equal housing opportunity.
Why do you choose Farah and Farah? First, we have the financial resources to take on any insurance company. And our track record proves that we know how to win. Our attorneys and staff are a team, and we've worked together for decades. To us, our job is much more than just a paycheck. We love to help. And this is important. We never forget. It's not about us. It's all about you. Farah and Farah, Jacksonville.
Hey Jags fans, did you know you can ride your bike to every Jaguars home game at TIAA Bank Field and valet park it for free? That's right. Stop by our bicycle check-in tent, sponsored by Alert Today Florida, near Gate 1 at TIAA Bank Field. An on-duty ZenCog bike professional will park your bike and ensure it's secured during the game. When the game's over, return your claim ticket and pick up your bike. For cycling safety tips, visit alerttodayflorida.com. Remember, Alert Today, alive tomorrow, because safety doesn't happen by accident.
At ViStar, we believe in better. And that means treating people better with friendly, personal service that's kept our members happy since 1952. A smile and personal greeting when you enter the branch, an online or phone chat for those quick questions, and a call center that's open every day. If you believe that great service is better, join ViStar. We never forget that it's your money. All loans subject to approval, insured by NCUA.
The wait for the holidays is over, America. It's time to make some joy. And we're here to help with the Ford Built for the Holidays sales event. We're offering the best deals of the season across the Ford lineup, so you can road trip with the whole family comfortably in a Ford Expedition. Bring home a tree that's bigger than you ever have with a built Ford Tough F-150. And find new ways to make the holidays bright this year when you visit your local Ford dealer. The joy is up to you, America, so let's get to it. Ford, Built for the Holidays.
Jaguars Happy Hour is presented in part by TIAA Bank, created to serve, built to perform. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. And Baptist Health, changing healthcare for good.
That's hard. You know, I had 3 in 5 games last year at Washington. I had 3 or 4 the year before that in Washington. So I've had about 10 quarterbacks I've dealt with in a small amount of time. And the consistency of that position is really important. It's critical to have success. You have to have consistency of that position. Talking to one guy, speaking the same language, catering to their strengths. When you're changing week in and week out, it's hard to get a gauge on what they like, what they're comfortable with. So that's the most difficult thing. So, you know, I think we're dealing with 3 great kids, guys that want to be great. They work extremely hard, but as a play caller, getting to know what they like and them getting to know me a little bit, that's the biggest challenge that we have. And now this will be the 3rd week with Mike. Hopefully I'm starting to get in his head a little bit, and he understands where we're going and what I think he likes. So it'll hopefully be beneficial.
Offensive coordinator yesterday discussing the quarterback position. And welcome back to Jaguars Happy Hour. JP Shadrick with Jeff Lageman, Tony Boselli coming up in about 12 minutes at 4:30. The Doug Marrone Show at 5 o'clock. And yeah, he said it there. Consistency is key at the quarterback position. You can't just keep changing starting quarterbacks every week just because and expect results. You know, having a consistent starter week to week helps with the communication, the play calling, and all of the above, as he said there. That's a lot of quarterbacks in the last 3 years for him, by the way, Logs.
Yeah, a little bit of a quarterback nightmare for Jay Gruden, no doubt. And I also enjoyed listening to his comments today when he talked about Alex Smith and how he just thought he is such an amazing person and what a great comeback that he's had this year for the Washington football team. Because what Alex Smith went through was obviously when Jay Gruden was their head coach. So I know that he's got certainly he's a rooting interest with Alex Smith and the Washington football team there. I mean, even though he lost his job from the team, but you can really tell that he's got an affinity for Alex and how and I think he said at one point today, he said, you know, he goes, I couldn't have come back from what Alex did, which says a lot. Right. And but pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, he's had a lot of quarterbacks, and that's just the way it is. And could you change quarterbacks every week? JP, you actually could. I mean, I don't think it's going to give you much chance to win any football games, but you could change them every week just because you can do it. But this week it's going to be Mike Glennon again. And I find it interesting that that Gardner Minshew comes out and talks about how he was begging to come, to be back in the lineup and play and all that kind of stuff. But yet, when you hear the coaches talk, especially Jay Gruden, he pretty much said that Gardner Minshew, from talking to whoever, he has not thrown the ball as much as he needs to show that he is ready to be back. So I'm not quite understanding how you can say that you're begging to be playing again, but at the same token, you're not taking the reps required to play. So I'm a little confused with that. But anyway, I'm glad to see that Mike Glennon is going to get another opportunity. And for the same reason that when Jake Luton faced the Pittsburgh Steelers, I wanted to see him play the next week because I wanted to see how he would bounce back. I want to see how Mike Glennon bounces back against the Minnesota Vikings team that he didn't have a great performance. He had 2 interceptions, and he also had the fumble. And when you commit 3 turnovers yourself and then you put the Conley one in there, you don't have much of a chance of win, because the reality is that this football team has been in many games, and it's been in the games to where their turnover differential has been favorable. And when it's not been favorable, they haven't been in games. And in fact, they were in the past game against the Minnesota Vikings, but the outcome certainly hasn't been favorable. The amazing thing too, JP, the Jaguars, every game this year, they've only had one where they've been +2 in turnover differential, and that was the very first one against Colt.
How about that? Yeah, Phillip Rivers threw them a couple in that game in Week 1. It seems like an eternity ago because it was. You mentioned Gardner Minshew.
Is it just me? Are you feeling this vibe from Gardner Minshew? I mean, it's kind of weird, right? I mean, to where he's saying he's begging to play, but then he's not taking the reps. I mean, I don't get that.
Well, let's hear from Doug Marrone on it first. And the head coach this week was asked about that and Gardner Minshew's comments that he was begging to get back in and all the above. And Doug Marrone, here's what he had to say. Let's just put it that way.
I think you get a little bit worried if it's the other way. You know what I'm saying? Where someone doesn't want to get out there. He's not a competitor. He's comfortable in his role of maybe not playing. So, you can have all these emotions as a player. And sometimes on the outside, you'll look at it and say, oh, man, he must be really upset that he's not doing this or that. Or, but at the end of the day, that's not how they are around their teammates and how they practice, and they're still working to get better and do it. So, and there's some guys that you would know that, you know what I'm saying? I mean, you can get a sense of that, but we don't have that issue at all. So, we're all trying to communicate. We're all trying to work through things, during these tough times. So we're just going to keep working on these guys and keep getting them better.
So that's Doug Marrone's take on it, Logs. And, there's only so many reps to go around on the practice field during the regular season and actual practice action, right? I mean, you're on the scout team and the starter's getting the reps. That's kind of how that works. So, maybe you want to be out there, but this is the NFL. This is real life. You don't always get what you want because the other guy's starting, and that's how it's working right now.
No, I hear you, but I mean, I kind of got the feeling from listening to Jay Gruden's comments that it was Gardner didn't want to take the reps or didn't want to make as many throws. I mean, maybe I'm misunderstanding that, but I don't know. I just think that's kind of odd that a player's going to say, "Hey, I'm begging to play," but yet the way that Jay's talking is that the reps that he was offered, he didn't want to take. At least that's the impression I'm getting, JP. And maybe I'm reading it wrong. I don't know. But it's kind of odd to me.
I just think, and this is me thinking out loud, but I think we're talking about a lot of nothing because Mike Glennon is the starting quarterback, and I think he's going to be the starter until the wheels fall off of this thing. And that's my thought about it. So we're talking about the backup.
Sure, yeah.
Right now for Gardner Minshew.
Totally get what you're saying, and the reality is that he's going to be the starter as long as he plays okay. But in the bigger picture of things, and even, JP,
but he didn't play okay last week.
It doesn't matter
right?
who plays quarterback,
he's still playing.
JP. It doesn't matter.
That's right. Yeah. Right.
Right.
That's where they are.
The future at quarterback is somewhere else. And you can say it's in the draft. You can say that it's in free agency, wherever it may be. But the future of the quarterback room for the Jacksonville Jaguars is not anywhere even remotely close to where it is right now. It's going to be vastly different in the future. And this football team needs to find a quarterback talent that it can win with and be consistent with. And that's, you look back at the history of the Jaguars organization, and to look at the number of swings that you've taken at the quarterback position, there's not a lot. I mean, you've taken some swings in the 6th round and 4th round and such, but this team, besides Mark Brunell, has not had a franchise-type guy. And you've drafted 3 in the 1st round, and you didn't hit on any of the 3, which is surprising because given 26 years, if you've tried it 3 times and you're not hitting it, you would think that there would be a lot more than 3. Because if you're going to have a chance to win, and we've kind of talked about this, gosh, so many different times, it kind of gets to be repetitive and mind-numbing. But the reality is you have to keep trying. And it's not to where you can't win without a quarterback, but it gives you the best chance to win year in and year out consistently if you can find the guy. And this franchise has passed up the opportunity recently under general manager Dave Caldwell when you could have acknowledged that Blake Bortles was not the guy and could have taken a swing at one of these other guys that we're seeing on a regular basis now, either Deshaun Watson or Patrick Mahomes or, whoever. It was just short-sighted, I thought, in the recent history of this franchise to not admit that you don't have the guy, and then to continue to try to find the guy.
Well, if you think we're talking a lot about it now, just wait until February and March and April leading into the draft, because that's all the conversation will be for the Jacksonville Jaguars. No matter who the quarterback is next year, there's a pretty good feeling that the running back behind him will be James Robinson. He's had a fantastic season, of course, and it just continues to build, and hopefully he gets some of that Pro Bowl momentum. It'll be tough, an undrafted rookie on a 1-11 football team, but his 4.6 yard per carry average is considering that he doesn't have long breakaway runs. He doesn't lose yardage much either. So he is as consistent as can be, and he is the future of the running back position here.
Well, he's part of it. When I say he's part of it, look, James Robinson is amazing. 32 yards away from hitting 1,000 yards, and he's on pace to have the best season by an undrafted rookie, surpassing Philip Lindsay and others. That's an amazing job. And with 255 yards, he's going to tie Fred Taylor for the Jaguars rookie rushing record. Those are all incredible things, and I think he's going to surpass Fred Taylor's record. And in the future, JP, though, this year he has carried the load by himself, and you really haven't had any depth. And that's kind of been an issue recently with the Jaguars running back position, period. When Leonard Fournette was the guy, you didn't have any depth behind Leonard Fournette. It was almost as if the position kind of got ignored or neglected. And James Robinson is the guy this year, but what do you have behind him? Somebody that can share the load. I do know this. When James Robinson leaves the field, or he leaves the Jaguars offensive huddle, there is a significant drop in the performance of other running backs when James is not in there. And that's not what you want. Look, you can't have what the Cleveland Browns have. Not every team can have that. And I'm not saying that you have to have that. But you need to have somebody that you feel good about coming in, and not somebody that every time that somebody is in, you're sitting there going, put James Robinson back in, because he's so much better. You got to have a guy that you feel good about spelling your main guy, or spelling James Robinson in this case. So, and
right,
JP, just real quick, in the future, you got to find depth, and you got to have more than one guy. And if you don't have more than one guy at the running back position, when you don't have that guy, then you're going to get exposed. And right now, the Jaguars have one guy from what we've seen. And I think that if they had some other people that were really good, then I think that they would certainly be getting more reps, and what we have seen from them would be better.
All right, let's come back. Tony Boselli is standing by. He'll join us. We need to talk about the receivers as well. Colin Johnson surging. And how do we get DJ Chark back on track? Game day is just around the corner. And remember, protecting the team starts with you. Stay home if you don't feel well. Practice social distancing. And remember that masks are required at TIAA Bank Field this season. Visit jaguars.com/stadium and learn more. It's Jaguars Happy Hour on the Jaguars Digital Network.
Jaguars fans, did you know that with Drizzly, you can get Tito's handmade vodka delivered to your door in under 60 minutes? Well, you can. And now they're giving all fans $10 off their first order. Use the code JAGS10 at checkout. Just download the Drizzly app or go to drizzly.com and make sure you're all set to mix it up with Tito's handmade vodka for the perfect game day. That's DRIZLY.com. And remember to use the special code JAGS10 to save $10 on your first order. 80 proof Tito's handmade vodka. Distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas. Crafted to be savored responsibly. Headquartered right here in Jacksonville, the CSI Companies is one of the fastest growing staffing firms in the nation. As a proud partner of your Jacksonville Jaguars, CSI knows how important it is to find the right people for your team. See why some of Jacksonville's top companies choose CSI for their staffing needs. Visit thecsicompanies.com or call 800-582-0828 today. That's 800-582-0828 for the CSI Companies.
Dreamfinders Homes has a simple commitment to their home buyers. Deliver unsurpassed quality, uncompromising value, and an extraordinary level of customization you simply won't find with other home builders. With over 40 communities to choose from, you'll find a location you love and the home of your dreams. Dreamfinders has townhomes, single-family homes, and custom estate homes starting from the high 100s and a wide selection of move-in ready homes. Quality, value, customization. That's the Dreamfinders difference. Call 904-738-0165 or online at dreamfindershomes.com. Dreamfinders Homes, the official home builder of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Prices subject to change without notice. Equal housing opportunity.
At ViStar, we believe in better, especially in helping build a better financial future for our members. So we've reviewed our offerings from the ground up. We've lowered or eliminated over half our fees and enhanced our already competitive rates, saving members more than $1 million this year, in addition to the millions we save them every year. If you believe that saving money is better, join ViStar. We never forget that it's your money. All loans subject to approval, insured by NCUA.
At Tropical Smoothie Cafe, one taste and you're feeling good now, smiling wider now, seeing brighter now, bucket dunking now, namasteing now, popping a wheelie now, living lighter now. You're on Tropic Time now. And on Mondays, try our Jaguars Duval Delight Smoothies for $2.99. And you're roaring louder now, end zone dancing now, sipping spirit now. You're on Tropic Time now at Tropical Smoothie Cafe.
Committed to the team. Committed to the mission. At Navy Mutual, we're committed to providing high-quality life insurance to members of the military and their families. So our policies have no fine print and no military service restrictions. We don't work on commission. We're nonprofit, so we pass the savings along to our members. Because at Navy Mutual, our highest commitment is to you. Visit NavyMutual.org. Navy Mutual, insuring those who serve.
Jaguars Happy Hour is presented in part by Dreamfinders Homes. Homes that fit your lifestyle. Next Grill. Everyone's invited. And Adecco. Visit AdeccoUSA.com.
I know as a line coach and evaluating linemen, to me it's a little bit easier to project, how someone's going to be as in the run game, from what I'm seeing on tape and what I'm seeing on film, than in pass pro, because sometimes some guys are just athletically gifted better than everyone else. And then some guys, where they get away with things technically. And in the NFL, you're going to face someone that's better than you at some time, and technically you're going to be in trouble. So, but I have seen improvement from him, John. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I think he did a much better job in protection last week. And I think, so he's trending in the right direction. So, I'm happy with him.
Head coach Doug Marrone discussing Ben Bartch, the rookie guard out of St. John's in Minnesota. And welcome back, Jaguars Happy Hour. JP Shadrick, Jeff Lageman, and pride of the Jaguars left tackle Tony Boselli joins us on the program now. Good afternoon, Tony. What's up?
What's up, fellas? Did I just hear Doug call Ben Bartch John? Did he say John?
No. That was John Shipley who asked the question.
Okay.
One of the writers.
I'm like, wow.
Yeah, but you could actually call Ben Bartch Johnny if you wanted to, because that's the nickname of the mascot at the small school that he played at, Bo.
That's right. I knew that. That's why I thought maybe it was his nickname or something like that. That's why I was confused. Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, his thoughts on Ben Bartch. I mean, and I know Logs and not you and I have talked about it. I mean, he has real, I guess, issues, struggles in the pass game right now. I mean, as far as pass blocking, definitely more comfortable run blocking. He's a physical guy. He gets after you. I like his tenacity. I like his, desire. But boy, he's a liability one-on-one right now. When he's in the game, I'm watching him. I'm like, man, I'm hoping they're sliding left, because a decent pass rusher gives him problems right now.
Yeah, Tony, I think you're dead on. And I think you could probably say that he got better this past game because it was the Minnesota Vikings and they don't have any great pass rushers, number one. But also, number two, for the most part of the game, once he had to play a lot, that's when Leonard went out and Shatley moved to center. Then all of a sudden, Ben Bartch didn't have a lot of one-on-ones to where he had to block a guy in a pass rush situation, and he was on an island with no help. He was only blocking partial guys, and so when he struggled is when he's had to block a guy one-on-one. And for me, the praise should all be about Tyler Shatley this week. And Tony, I know you watched the film. Here's a guy that, first of all, was having one of his best games at a guard, and again, against the Vikings. But then when Leonard goes out and he switches over to center, he still performs at an incredibly high level. Tyler Shatley is a good football player. Somebody's going to recognize it. Somebody's going to sign him to be their starting center next year, because if I'm correct, he is on a one-year deal. I thought he did outstanding, and the Jaguars are very fortunate to have him, because Brandon Linder has shown in the past that he has had some issues staying completely healthy.
Jeff, is it just me, or is this like by far Shatley's best year? Like by far, because he's like, you always felt good with him at center, like not great but good. But when he had to play guard in the past, you were like, his length sometimes got him in trouble, especially in the pass game. Like, he's playing really high level football right now. Like, I've been wildly impressed. Like, to the point someone was asking me about Shatley and with Linder getting hurt and everything else. And I said, I'll be honest with you, watching the film, it's not like there's much of a drop off when Shatley plays. I've been really impressed with him, Jeff, and I agree with you. Somebody's gonna ask him to come be a starting center, because he's had a good year, and good for him, because he's one of the best guys on the team too. If you've ever been around him, I know you have, Jeff. But anyone who's ever been around Tyler Shatley, he's just a good dude.
Yeah. So there you have it. Hey, by the way, the injury report has just come out. We promised that when it came out, we would pass along some of the info. Jonnu Smith, the tight end for the Titans with a knee issue, limited yesterday, but full practice today. So that is trending in the right direction for him. And, of course, Jonnu Smith had 2 touchdowns against the Jaguars back in week 2. A couple of notes. Also, A.J. Brown has not practiced this week for the Titans with an ankle issue. That's Wednesday and Thursday. For the Jaguars, a bunch of guys limited. Brandon Linder has not practiced this week with an ankle. He came out of last week's game. So those are the latest on the injury report. Let's touch on receivers here for the Jags. We promised that earlier as well. Colin Johnson's surging in a positive way the last couple of weeks. His play has really improved. DJ Chark had 7 targets last week, only a couple of catches. 2 guys that not going in the opposite directions. I don't want to say it that bluntly. But how do you get Chark back on track, and how do you keep riding the wave for Colin Johnson?
That's a great question, JP. And everybody keeps saying that DJ's a number one receiver and we got to get him the ball and we got to get him more targets. Well, I mean, you're getting him a lot of targets. I think the opportunities to play the quarterback's got to be better. And so until that kind of gets a lot better, then that's going to be what it is. But I think sometimes that conversation needs to just be, hey, look, we just need to find the open guys. And DJ's a big part of our offense. And we feel like he's one of our best guys. But when you continually say that we got to get him the ball, I think that sometimes can put undue pressure sometimes on a quarterback or an offense to where sometimes you got to find the open guy. If that's Colin Johnson, it's Colin Johnson. If it's Keelan Cole, it's Keelan Cole. If it's whoever, it's whoever. And so I like DJ Chark, obviously, and I think he's a really good football player. And I also really like Colin Johnson. I think he's going to be a marvelous player in the future, just with his size, and he gets great separation. And I think that's one of his talents, that he does get great separation. But JP, I don't see that there's a fix for fixing 7 targets and 2 catches for DJ Chark like what he had this past week.
Well, I'll go a little bit further on that, Logs, because I'm with you. I think DJ Chark's a fabulous player. I mean, a guy, by the way, who you probably want to try to sign before he gets to his free agent year next year. I mean, he's a building block. But when I think about forcing the ball to anyone, which I think is problematic in any offense, I don't care, especially when you're talking about playing your third quarterback of the year, that becomes real issues that develop. And if you're gonna I think about that as 1As. There's a handful of those guys in the entire league that this guy can go win all the time. He's one of the best players in the NFL. Think back Antonio Brown when he was with the Steelers, and they used to force the ball to him because he was dynamic, and as he got going, he was just a nightmare. I view DJ Chark, he's definitely the number one receiver on this team, but it's not like he's the superstar. And I think what you have to do, and I think where DJ's at his best when it's in the normal flow of the offense, because he can win one-on-one, and he can create serious matchups, and he is good deep, and he's across the middle. I mean, he's a really good receiver. But I think you do the offense a disservice when you're saying, boy, we got to get him involved, and we got to get him the ball. And again, especially when you're talking about down the line quarterbacks, your third quarterback, because you start putting undue pressure, you start trying to force things, and I think you get out of a rhythm. I think the best offenses and where you really see good flow and offenses in a rhythm is when guys are just within the confines of the play winning and the quarterback's making the right read. And I promise you they're calling plays where DJ Chark is the first read. And so just get into the confines of the offense, run the play, go win, and then, take advantage of the opportunities, which I know DJ will. So I'm with Logs. I don't think there's some magic lever you pull and then all of a sudden DJ's going to catch 7 balls a game. I think it's just, better performance, better execution by everybody. And I think it starts with the quarterback a lot of times.
All right, guys, let's come back. One final segment ahead. We'll take one final look at the Titans-Jaguars matchup coming up in Week 14. It's Jaguars Happy Hour on the Jaguars Digital Network.
Hi, I'm Tito Beverage, founder and master distiller at Tito's Handmade Vodka. In 1997, we became the first micro distillery in the state of Texas, and we're still making the same smooth stuff after all these years. We're still cooking in a pot still, working with our dogs by our sides, having fun and tasting batches, and I'm still wearing the same hat, even after all these years. Head over to Tito'sVodka.com to learn more about what else we're doing the same. Cheers. 80 proof Tito's Handmade Vodka, distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas. Tito'sVodka.com.
Why live with foot or ankle pain? If you have persistent pain, numbness, tingling, burning pain on the bottom of your foot, or swelling that doesn't improve with home treatment, it may be time to see Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute. Our foot and ankle specialists have innovative new options to help you get back in the swing of things without persistent pain that slows you down. Call JOI 2000 or go to joionline.net for an appointment.
The wait for the holidays is over, America. It's time to make some joy. And we're here to help with the Ford Built for the Holidays sales event. We're offering the best deals of the season across the Ford lineup, so you can road trip with the whole family comfortably in a Ford Expedition. Bring home a tree that's bigger than you ever have with a built Ford Tough F-150. And find new ways to make the holidays bright this year when you visit your local Ford dealer. The joy is up to you, America, so let's get to it. Ford, built for the holidays.
Like working outdoors and want better pay and benefits? Superior Fence and Rail is seeking full-time fence installers with pay ranging from $16 to $25 an hour and more with commercial experience. Superior Fence and Rail will train you to work with their professional team and provide you with all the tools you need to be a top-notch installer. Get off the fence. Call Superior Fence and Rail today and start your career.
SuperiorFenceandRail.com.
Jaguars fans, whether it's on the field or in your finances, the key to success is a solid plan. From high-yield banking to home lending, into retirement and beyond, TIAA Bank offers solutions that can help you achieve your goals and make the most of your money. It's time for a plan. Start building your legacy today at TIAABank.com/Jaguars. TIAA Bank is a division of TIAA, FSB, member FDIC, equal housing lender, and the official bank of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Hi folks, Frank Frangie here for the best barbecue in town. That's Bono's. And now it's the official barbecue of the Jacksonville Jaguars. All season long, you can get Bono's barbecue at 6 different locations in Everbank Field. You also get Bono's barbecue at 15 locations all around town with fast, friendly service, clean family restaurants, and that great taste of Bono's barbecues. If you want great barbecue, you want Bono's. And remember this, if there ain't a pit, it ain't legit. That's Bono's.
Welcome back, Jaguars Happy Hour. JP Shadrick, Jeff Lageman, Tony Boselli. The Doug Marrone Show coming up in a little less than 15 minutes, the top of the hour on the Jaguars Radio Network. We'll hear from head coach Doug Marrone from his office at TIAA Bank Field. We touched on this earlier, Tony, before you joined us, but the Titans' offensive line is not quite the offensive line that we have grown accustomed to over the years in Nashville.
Well, they have had all kinds of injuries. They lost Conklin in free agency, so that's not an injury, but they lost him. They drafted a guy, Isaiah Wilson, in the first round to be the starter. He hasn't done anything. He had, I think, a DUI. He's had multiple COVID issues, which is obviously not his fault. Ended up on the list. Had some suspension last week that is, for breaking some rule, and now he's put on the non-football injury illness list. So you lose that. So now you're playing a backup in Kelly at your right tackle position. They got a second-year player who was okay last year at right guard. The center's decent. Saffold, I think, is a good player. And then you lose your all-pro or at least Pro Bowl caliber left tackle. So they've had all kinds of injuries, and because of it, they're not the same group. Yet they still average over 9 points a game offensively. So while the offensive line is not living up to what it was last year and in the past, where they were pretty physically dominating, still doing enough to score a bunch of points every week.
Yeah, the Isaiah Wilson is now on the reserve non-football illness list. So he hasn't done some good things, obviously, on that list.
Yeah, not the list you want to be on there. And so the Jags defense has a task ahead of them this week against this Titans offense.
JP, here's the thing, too.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt you, but here's the amazing thing, Logs, JP. All the injuries, all that we talk about, I just said they're scoring, I think, the third in the NFL in scoring offense. And they have one of the top rushers in the NFL in Derrick Henry with a, MASH unit in front of them. They got Ty Sombrello playing left tackle, who was a former second-round pick for the Broncos, who got cut and bounced around and ended up there. And was really, if you think about it, he's really their fourth tackle going into camp, because Dennis Kelly is the swing guy. If Isaiah Wilson, the first rounder, does what they expect him to do, to be the starter. And so I give him credit. Give Arthur Smith and that offensive staff a bunch of credit, because they're still functioning pretty well in both the pass and the run with a group that, they did not imagine this would be the 5 guys they'd be playing with.
Well, Sambrello,
No.
Tony, ended up on injured reserve, and
Oh, that's
starting
right.
left
You're right.
tackle last week was Quisenberry, who was former Texan, also spent time with Tennessee. So
And
they've
he's
got
a
issues.
he's a cancer survivor. I think that was his first start,
Yeah.
I believe. I forgot all about that, Logs. Thank you
Second.
for correcting me.
Yeah, it was his second start, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
That's right. Great story, but I'm not sure that's what they planned at the beginning of the year.
No, and trying to
not
block
at all.
Myles Garrett is not an easy task. He struggled, to say the least.
Well, listen, you put an All-Pro out there, or a Pro Bowl Cup, or trust me, it would have been a great matchup. If they had their front line, but it's still not. I don't care who you are in this league. Blocking Myles Garrett is not easy, and he one of the better players in the NFL.
All right, guys. So 4 games to go. It's an 11-game losing skid now, and a few of the last stretch here have been relatively close. The Jags just haven't been able to finish and get that elusive W. So, what's left this year? You can wreck some other teams' playoff chances, Tony, if you can go get a W or 2 down the stretch here and rally the troops. That's what's left.
Yeah, you just want to. Yeah, that's all that's left. I mean, you just want to win. I mean, as a player, you're working hard. You're working all week. As coaching staff, you're burning the midnight, the midnight hours of trying to get ready and prepare your guys. And so everyone's working hard. And when you lose, there's no payoff. And so, yeah, I'm not sure you think about, hey, let's ruin someone's playoff chances. It's a nice storyline. You just want to win. Like, losing stinks. It is awful. Like, in all the hard work, you don't get that payoff. And my concern, and we said it last week, and it didn't happen. I'm worried about like the dam to burst, where you see like just the injuries and the young players and the wear and tear of this team, and not having a ton of talent or difference makers as well. When does that catch up? Because it hasn't yet. And the reason it hasn't is because these guys play so hard. And you got to give Doug and the staff credit. You got to give the players credit, because they do play hard every week. And when you play hard in the NFL, you're going to stay in games. But boy, Jeff, you and I talked about it in the pregame. When's the damn break and you have one of those weeks where just everything adds up and it just goes the wrong way?
Yeah, and right now it hasn't broke. So that's amazing. I mean, I think the players deserve a lot of credit. Like you said, the coaches deserve credit, because they're coming out and they're fighting their butts off. And it's easy to not. And so, look, if this team comes out and fights like crazy against Tennessee, kudos to them. And I hope that they get a win, because you know what? The reality is that even though it's short-lived, as far as the enjoyment of winning in the National Football League, at least you get some enjoyment in a year that's just been absolutely painful. When I say painful, from the standpoint of there's been so many challenges this year with COVID and the way things have been going as far as the way you got to conduct your business. You almost feel like that this team deserves to have some positive feeling, because they've worked hard and they fought hard. It seems like almost every game. I mean, the only game that hasn't been competitive for the most part has been the Pittsburgh Steelers game. But you go back and you look at the past number of 5, 6, 7 games, this team has been in it, and they've had opportunities to darn near win every game.
Yeah, and I think, guys, and I don't know if it's going to be this week, but I really believe this team's going to win again this year if they keep on playing as hard as they do. It's just how, in my opinion, the NFL works. If you play hard and you compete every week, the ball's going to bounce your way sooner or later. And hopefully it's this week, but I really do think, and I'll just echo what Jeff said, kudos to the guys, kudos to the coaches, and I just hope they continue to find, hopefully enough guys to continue, they don't keep on having these injuries, but guys keep on showing up the way they are, because they will win a game if they keep doing this week in and week out.
Yeah, this is, I think the Jaguars have had the most players to play a snap in a game in the NFL this year. I think 77 different players have played this year. I mean, it's the most in the league. And that tells you what this team has gone through, the turnover, the attrition, and everything. So, you're literally signing guys on Tuesday and making sure they pass COVID, showing up on Friday or Saturday and playing on Sunday. That's how it's been a few times this year. And to keep everything together for what it's been has been pretty remarkable so far. And there have been some good storylines. Some of these young guys are improving as this year goes along, right? I mean, especially, we talked about it earlier, Jeff, but Tony, on the defensive line, some of those guys are starting to play a little bit better as the year goes on. We've seen the improvement of a guy like Colin Johnson step in and get an opportunity later in the year, and he stepped up and played well. James Robinson just continues to grow. So there are some positives. I know it's 1-11. It's 11 straight losses. That's what the wins and losses are, the ultimate thing you look at. But there are some things, very few things you can hang your hat on and say that are getting better around here. I'm cautious when I say that, but
no, but JP, you're right. I mean, listen, the fans care about, and what everyone cares about at the end of the day is wins and losses. And boy, we're on the wrong side of that ledger right now. But if you look at, let's take it a step below and look at some of the young players, what they've been put into and how they've developed. James Robinson, we don't need to talk about him. I mean, he's one of the better running backs in the AFC and the NFL. But I'll just call one guy out. You already talked about Colin Johnson. Doug Costin, an undrafted rookie free agent from Miami of Ohio, and he has come in and has won and earned a starting job, beating out a past first rounder, Taven Bryant, and not just because there's no one else, and maybe if there isn't anybody else. But if you watch them, they've gotten better as a defense and a run defense with him playing that 3 technique. And that's impressive. And guess what? I believe he's a guy that he's going to come back into camp next year. I'm not saying he's the starter, but boy, he's a rotation guy that you feel good about putting in the game, and he's shown that he has the ability to compete at this level. That's a win. I mean, that's good stuff right there. And guys like Doug Costin are developing, and that's a little bit of good news. You got to hang your hat on something, don't you?
Well, it's good news, but at the same token, it's kind of bad news in that you now have a first-round pick who's a bubble guy. And that's what's been hurting this football team for many years, is that you're missing. And we got a first-round pick who right now doesn't even deserve a second look at another contract. That's a problem.
I agree with you 100%. I was trying to be positive as we end this before you go to the coach. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, we're trying to finish on the upslope here. That's okay. Hey, we're wrapping up.
Sorry, guys.
Titans. Yeah, thanks, Logs. Happy holidays to you as well. So the Jags and the Titans coming up, Week 14, second time around. I mean, obviously, guys, these teams have gone in totally different directions since Week 2. It was the first loss for the Jaguars. They haven't won since then. The Titans are in first place. Tony, quickly, are the Titans sustainable? Can they go win this thing, the division?
No, I don't think so. Oh, the division, yeah, I think they can. I don't think, their defense is so bad. They can't get off the field. They can't rush the passer. They're really not good anywhere on the defense if you really look at it. And I just don't think it's sustainable in the playoffs. They have a good offense. They have good skill players. Obviously, Derrick Henry, good run game. But I just think they're not good enough defensively to make a deep run in the playoffs.
Logs thinks it's going to be a tight game. What do you think, Bo?
I do too, because this team shows up. Jacksonville shows up. They play hard. They play physical. I think, they're going to give Tennessee all they want.
I like it. Tight ball game. See if the Jags can finish it this week against the Tennessee Titans. And, Bo, we will talk to you on Sunday in Week 14.
Looking forward to it, guys. Tell Doug I said hello.
I think you just did. He listens to the last segment usually every week from his office at TIAA Bank Field. Tony Boselli out of here. Pride of the Jaguars left tackle joining us each week. All right, Logs, final thoughts here. It's a long losing skid, a division rival coming in first place that you know very well, and it's a matchup that you think is going to be pretty tight.
Yeah, I do. I think it's going to be a tight ball game. I think the Jaguars have done a pretty good job against some of the running backs that they faced. Cleveland, they kind of held them down for a while, and then obviously with Dalvin Cook, I thought they did a pretty good job against him. He had to have a lot of touches to get where he was at, and this week's a big challenge with Derrick Henry, and Cleveland Browns did a good job stopping him, so the Jaguars can hopefully do a good job stopping him as well.
All right, stick around. Network coverage starts next with the Doug Marrone Show. The Jaguars head coach joins us from his office at TIAA Bank Field. Our thanks to Tony Boselli, and for our entire crew and Jeff Lageman, I'm JP Shadrick. Thank you for listening and for watching. It's Jaguars Happy Hour on the Jaguars Digital Network.
This is the Doug Marrone Show.
The Doug Marrone Show.
Former Jaguar Jeff Lageman and JP Shadrick discuss the latest Jaguars news with the head coach. The Doug Marrone Show starts right now.
Welcome in, the Doug Marrone Show, presented by the Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles. JP Shadrick from the home studio, Jeff Lageman from his home studio, and head coach Doug Marrone joins us each Thursday from his office at TIAA Bank Field, his home away from home. Coach, it's good to see you again. And I'm curious about the work week after a close, hard-fought, tight overtime game last week that you didn't get the winning result in, and with 11 in a row of these now. You know, how's the work gone? How's the mood of the team, the players, and the coaching staff with all this work that's being put in? December, you can see the light at the end of the tunnel of the season here. How hard is it to keep everybody focused on the day-to-day tasks to get ready for Sunday?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's a credit to the players and the coaches. It hasn't been hard at all. I think that, you know, everyone knows that, you know, we're putting in the work, and, you know, we're a couple plays away from, you know, trying to get a win. We know that we're obviously all disappointed. I'm sure there's a lot of frustration, but you know, the one thing that I give credit to the coaches and the players for is to be able to focus at the task at hand. You have a division opponent coming in, someone that, you know, we were behind early in the game, came back, had a chance to win. And these players just want to, you know, show everyone, and the coaches just really, you know, their best and go out there and provide that. So it's really hasn't been an issue at all of trying to get people focused or trying to get people not to look at the, you know, the end of the year coming or anything like that. This team has a lot of fight. These coaches have a lot of fight. And we know we have, you know, 4 opportunities, and it starts this week with Tennessee, and we're going to try to take advantage of each one.
Doug, I don't know if you guys keep track of this stuff, but how many different lineups have you played on defense this year in the games that you've played?
Yeah, you know, Jeff, we really don't keep track of that. I mean, you know, because everything is it's so daily, you know, of what can happen with injuries and everything like that. And, you know, like for us, meaning myself, the coaches, and even the players, I mean, you know, we're not, you know, our record is what it is. You know, we are who we are. We're fighting our butts off, but you know, we're not going to come in and say, hey, we've had this many different lineups, we've had this many different quarterbacks, or whatever it may be. We're not going to, you know, we're not. At least I don't want to represent the players and coaches as a bunch of guys that are going to make excuses. I want to represent them as you know, someone that's, hey, listen, it is what it is, and we're trying our best.
Yeah, I think the reason I bring that up is because it's such a different year in the way that COVID has affected everything. I mean, what an incredible challenge for a coaching staff to try to end up, I don't want to say educating, but trying to get guys together to play when it changes so much, when the times are so challenging, because it's not like you can put your arm around a guy and say, hey, look, you know, when you see this, you're going to end up reacting like this. I mean, because it's a challenge to coach in these times, certainly with COVID.
Yeah, I would think, you know, a lot of people came out early, and, you know, they were talking about, you know, this is a year where you want a veteran roster where, you know, or when I say veteran roster, I'm not talking about age. I'm talking about guys that have played together for a long time, that, you know each other and things like that. So, you know, it's created a bit of a challenge, but it's been exciting to a certain extent of watching some of these guys start coming along, you know, start bringing it together. Again, there's no excuse for anything, but you know, there has been some positives, you know, individually, just collectively as a team, we haven't been able to put it together to get that win.
If you put your arm around a player this year, the buzzer around your neck will go off. That's not allowed this year, Coach, for sure. How close are you to Mike Vrabel, the head coach in Tennessee, and how often do you guys discuss things? I know maybe not during the season. Are you close to him?
Yeah, we're close. I have a ton of respect for Mike. He was actually competed against him when he was a player, and I was coaching at the Jets. He's an outstanding player. Got to spend, a lot of time with him. Obviously he was in Houston with Bill O'Brien, so got to know each other well there. And then that relationship continued. And obviously he's in Nashville where, obviously I have a second home. So I have a ton of respect for Mike. Mike has done a great job. He's, I think, he and Jeff, now I'm going to bring Jeff into this, that, kind of tough. They're going to coach their team tough. They're going to get them to play well. They both play the same position. So I think there's, I see a lot of similarities as far as the competitiveness in both. And he's a competitive guy. And I think, the one thing I do know is that they've had a tough week last week. They've had injuries. They've come back from it. They got some guys coming back. So, we're going to get the best Tennessee Titan team on Sunday. And we're looking forward to that challenge.
Yeah, Mike is a super guy, Doug. Had the opportunity to get to know him over the years, the different stops that he's had. And I would definitely say that his team has taken on the personality of him, tough. And look, this is going to be a physical football game that you guys are going to encounter this week. And it seems like it's always that way with the Tennessee Titans.
It is. I mean, they're going to try to come in. They're going to try to, win the line of scrimmage. And they've got some challenges. And I think, people have asked me before, like, where are they? Their record. I mean, they've same question that you posed to me before. They've had some different lineups, different people in it. But they still got some quality players that are continuing to play at a high level. I mean, both inside D linemen are at a high level. Byers is one of the best players in the league. Obviously we know where Henry is. He's the best running back in the league right now from a statistic standpoint, and we know how hard he is to tackle. But the thing that concerns you the most is really their outside players, with Davis and Brown, and, their tight end with Smith and Michael Pruitt. So, they have some quality players on that side that create some challenges as far as matchup.
All right, guys, we'll come back in a moment. We'll dig a little bit deeper into that thought about Derrick Henry and the Titans offense and the Jaguars defensive matchup this week. We're off and running. It's the Doug Marrone Show, presented by the Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles on the Jaguars Radio Network.
Whether you're driving to a Jaguars game or on the way to work, when you see flashing lights, please move over. If you can't move over a lane, slow down 20 miles per hour below the speed limit. You can protect those who help you on the road, from law enforcement and other first responders to utility and tow truck drivers. They all need you to be at the top of your game while you're driving. See lights? Please move over. Brought to you by the Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles and the Florida Highway Patrol.
Jaguars fans, whether it's on the field or in your finances, the key to success is a solid plan. From high-yield banking to home lending, into retirement and beyond, TIAA Bank offers solutions that can help you achieve your goals and make the most of your money. It's time for a plan. Start building your legacy today at TIAABank.com/Jaguars. TIAA Bank is a division of TIAA, FSB, member FDIC, equal housing lender, and the official bank of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
This football season, prepare your taste buds for the most iconic sports watching drink of all time, Pepsi. With refreshing deliciousness specially formulated to keep your eye on the ball and mouth-watering fizziness to help you power through game day, Pepsi has everything you need to start strong.
I used to care when Mike cheered so hard he spilled nacho cheese on my carpet, but thanks to Pepsi, even Mike can't ruin my football party.
So this football season, make Pepsi your go-to game day drink, because it's the only drink made for football watching. Pepsi, that's what I like.
Jaguars fans, game day is back. And this year we've teamed up with Jameson to add another win to your week with official Jaguars and Jameson branded collectible stadium cups. They're only available for a limited time in the Jacksonville metro area. So grab yours today, pour a smooth Jameson, ginger and lime, and cheer on the Jags with Jameson. Taste responsibly. Jameson Irish Whiskey, 40% alcohol by volume, 80 proof. Product of Ireland. Copyright 2020. Imported by John Jameson Import Company, New York, New York.
Welcome back to the HananiaAutos.com studio. The Doug Marrone Show continues right now.
Welcome back, JP Shadrick, Jeff Lageman, and head coach Doug Marrone. As the Doug Marrone Show rolls along, the Jags and the Tennessee Titans coming up in Week 14. The game presented by PRI Productions at TIAA Bank Field this Sunday with a 1 o'clock kickoff time. Last week it was Dalvin Cook, second leading rusher in the league, and your defense held him to under 4 yards per carry on, 32 touches in the game on the ground to get to that number last week. This week, Derrick Henry, and you touched on it a moment ago, and Todd Wash even talked about it this week, giving time in practice to work on battling and defending against stiff arms. How exactly do you do that, Doug?
Yeah, I think you've seen, it's funny about the tackling. I think over the years you've seen now where it's almost become a game plan, where I think before, you just hit someone as hard as you can and try to bring them down. But I think now, there's a lot of work, and you see it throughout the league. I've actually noticed it more this year, where, the scouting reports on these running backs that really have a good stiff arm, you'll see them coming up in stiff arm, and the player trying to knock it down and then shoot to go in and tackle. But you got to be pretty athletic to be able to do that. I mean, your hands working in one motion, obviously your feet and hips have to come through, and even, the difference between Henry and maybe some of the other players is that even though if you may be able to block the stiff arm, you still got to run through them and be able to wrap and get them down. And I think that's what makes it so challenging. He's such a big, strong back that he has a stiff arm and he has the ability to really just run you over, run through tackles. If you don't bring your hips and bring your body and get other people around the football to help bring them down, it can be a long day for you.
Doug, I don't know if there's a guy in the NFL's history that ever compares to a guy like Derrick Henry, 6'3", 250 pounds. He's got a great stiff arm, he's got speed. Can you think of anybody that you could compare him to?
Oh, absolutely. Graduating from Syracuse University, you're talking about Jim Brown, you're talking about, Ernie Davis, who never had that ability to do it, but Jim Brown now, I always tell a story. We played in the Hall of Fame game, and I don't know, Jeff, if you've ever played in it, or I took the Buffalo Bills there, so we were playing in it. And prior to the game, they always announce all the people that are there at the Hall of Fame, and our players are warming up and they're announcing players, great players, great Hall of Fame players. But what was always interesting is at the point where they said they introduced, and Jim Brown is here. Both teams kind of stopped and took a look and to see where he was. And I always remember that moment. And having met Jim and spent some time with him, I never – you meet a lot of these older players, and when you meet Jim Brown you realize, you're like, oh, my gosh, I can't believe how big he was. At a time where, they said that the league is bigger now and what it may be, but, it's hard. I guess that's the Syracuse in me, the orange blood that runs through me that is always going to, push Jim Brown as the greatest player that ever played this game.
No, it's all good. And by the way, I have played in the Hall of Fame game twice. Once when I was a member of the Jets, and John Riggins went in the Hall of Fame that week, and so I got to meet him. And then when the Jaguars and Panthers came into existence, we played in the Hall of Fame game again. And Doug, I can tell you one thing: if I come back and get reborn as another football player one day, I don't ever want to play in the Hall of Fame game again.
No. No, I'll tell you, when you have a young team and you have a young quarterback, it's beneficial because you get the extra practices because you're going to play in that game early. Your veteran players, they want no part of it. You can figure out a way to veterans happy, maybe bring them into camp later and bring your younger players in to work with them. I think players would be appreciative of that.
And by the way, Jim Brown was one of the all-time great lacrosse players at Syracuse as well. Just a side note there, too. You mentioned the weapons outside for Tennessee, the receivers, and you also mentioned Jonnu Smith, who was a full participant in practice today, coming off a knee issue. He missed last week's game. He scored twice against the Jags back in week 2, Doug. So what kind of challenge is he when he's rolling and healthy? He's among the best in the league, it feels like.
He is, and it opened up another part of the field for Tannehill. So, not only do you have him, like I said, you have the outside guys on, the deep routes. They're big, strong, fast receivers on the outside. Now you got a tight end that can run. So, they can stretch the field, at all different spots, which creates a challenge for you. But, like I said before, we've worked hard. We're expecting to play. So, it's going to be a great challenge, and we're looking forward to it.
Now, the linebacker play, Doug, that you guys got last week with Joe Schobert and both Miles Jack playing really well, I thought it was exceptional. And, boy, just the right time, obviously facing a guy like Dalvin Cook and then now going to a guy like Derrick Henry. It's another challenge this week. But, boy, your linebacker play has been pretty solid all year.
Yeah, I mean, Miles Jack is having a Pro Bowl type of year. I mean, he's been outstanding each week, and Joe's been solid and, really getting better now as the season's going along. And I think, a lot of that credit I give to some of these guys up front. Daniel Qualley's gone in there and done a good job. Doug Costin, Adam Gostis, and I think, those are guys that not a lot of people know. But and I think, Jeff, because you've been in those linebacker rooms, that if your guys up front, are not taking up blocks, taking guys up, and they're allowing 325-pound guys to come up on them, on the inside, it's going to be a long day for those linebackers. So, the linebackers playing well. Credit goes to those guys up front. We've got to really do a good job about this week, especially on some of the issues we had with Cook on the cutbacks, making sure that player that we have there can bring him down, and also he'll look to and go after the support player, whether it's the safety or corner, and challenge them to make the tackle. And we've got to do a good job there.
All right, guys, let's come back. We'll flip it around. A couple of offensive players are trending upward for the Jacksonville Jaguars. We'll get into that when we come back. It's the Doug Marrone Show on Jaguars Radio.
Coach Doug Marrone here, reminding all our Jaguar fans, don't fumble when it comes to driving. One text takes your eyes off the road for 5 seconds. And at 55 miles per hour, that's like driving the entire length of a football field with your eyes closed. To win while driving, you must focus. Keep your hands on the wheel, eyes on the road, and mind on driving. Put it down. Focus on driving. Brought to you by the Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles and the Florida Highway Patrol.
This football season, prepare your taste buds for the most iconic sports watching drink of all time, Pepsi. With refreshing deliciousness specially formulated to keep your eye on the ball and mouth-watering fizziness to help you power through game day, Pepsi has everything you need to start strong.
I used to care when Mike cheered so hard he spilled nacho cheese on my carpet, but thanks to Pepsi, even Mike can't ruin my football party.
So this football season, make Pepsi your go-to game day drink because it's the only drink made for football watching. Pepsi, that's what I like.
Why do you choose Farah and Farah? First, we have the financial resources to take on any insurance company, and our track record proves that we know how to win. Our attorneys and staff are a team, and we've worked together for decades. To us, our job is much more than just a paycheck. We love to help. And this is important. We never forget. It's not about us. It's all about you. Farah and Farah, Jacksonville.
Hey Jags fans, did you know you can ride your bike to every Jaguars home game at TIAA Bank Field and valet park it for free? That's right. Stop by our bicycle check-in tent, sponsored by Alert Today Florida, near Gate 1 at TIAA Bank Field. An on-duty ZenCog bike professional will park your bike and ensure it's secured during the game. When the game's over, return your claim ticket and pick up your bike. For cycling safety tips, visit alerttodayflorida.com. Remember, Alert Today, alive tomorrow, because safety doesn't happen by accident.
Welcome back to the HananiaAutos.com studio. The Doug Marrone Show continues right now.
Welcome back to the Doug Marrone Show. JP Shadrick, Jeff Lageman, and head coach Doug Marrone. The Titans and the Jaguars coming up in Week 14 at TIAA Bank Field this Sunday. The Jags trying to get back on track. And there's been a lot of chatter, Doug, about the quarterback position this week. Mike Glennon is getting start number 3 for you. Gardner Minshew is in a backup role. And take us through that decision-making process earlier in the week. And, Glennon's outing last week had 3 turnovers, the 2 interceptions, 1 in overtime, the fumble. To get Glennon back on track, what kind of week has he had in the starting role?
Yeah, Mike's had a good week. Obviously, he understands, we can't turn the football over, and he's got to know, what he can do and what he can't do. I think that, the fumble in the end zone, the fumble while he was trying to gain yards and scramble, those are things I think are easily correctable. I think the interception went through our tight end's hands, underneath him, and that was the 3rd turnover. So I think he understands that. And, Gardner's been great. I mean, he wants to play. There's no doubt about it. He's voiced it. We're trying to, see how he works in practice and see where he's at. And I just think, like I said before, I think at the end of the day, as of right now, I think Mike gives us the best opportunity. So, that's just how we feel as a coaching staff. It's not an individual opinion. It's everyone involved. Jay's involved, Ben's involved, and that's where we're at.
Well, Doug, with Tennessee's defense, they don't have a couple guys, obviously, that they had the first time you faced them. Jadavian Clowney's not there, and the edge talent is not great. But the guys that are playing on the inside, including the linebacker and the safety, Byard, are pretty doggone good.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at, Jeffrey Simmons and Daquan Jones, I've known him forever. I mean, his dad and I actually went to high school together. It just shows you how poor of a recruiting job I did. I couldn't get him to go to Syracuse. He wound up going to Penn State. And his dad but I know him well. He's a good football player. And I think right now the inside guys for them are probably being a little bit overshadowed because of what they're trying to, they're not, they've had so many different changes in their lineup but those guys from when we played them first and when they're playing now, I think are playing much better. Byard has always played at a high level. Malcolm Butler, we know, and then, now they had Breon Borders playing corner for him, but Dory Jackson's been practicing. So I think once they get the corner play back, they're fine. I think Landry's a guy that's a little bit probably underrated. I really like him as a pass rusher. I think he can do a good job. He can affect the quarterback. And then obviously on the other side, they have Crawford, who's taken over for Clowney. They had Beasley first. That didn't go well, and Clowney got injured. But Crawford's a solid player. But, they still have a lot of players that'll be challenging for us, especially those inside guys with, Tyler Shatley's going to go ahead and play center, obviously, this week. Brandon Linder will be out. But Tyler has been playing really well, both at center and guard. And Ben Barch is a young guy. He's been coming along. He's struggled a little bit early with pass protection, did a good job in the run game. But he's been improving. So this will be a big test for him. We'll know where he is after.
Yeah, Doug, Tyler Shatley last week against the Minnesota Vikings, I thought he was playing really well at guard. And then when Brandon Linder goes out with the ankle injury from friendly fire, James O'Shaughnessy, in case some people didn't know, kind of came down the line blocking and hits Brandon Linder in the lower part of the leg. But then all of a sudden, Shatley has to move from center, left guard to center, and I thought he played incredibly well throughout the rest of the ball game. And that's not an easy thing to do because you change from a position where you're kind of one-sided and now you got to be balanced and snap the ball and make all the calls. I mean, I got tremendous respect for Tyler Shatley, and I got a feeling somebody's going to recognize that he's a starter in this league.
I don't disagree with you at all. I think that, unfortunately for Tyler, he's playing behind a player like Brandon Linder, who's a really good football player. But that doesn't mean that Tyler Shatley's not a starter in this league. I really think he, especially at the center position. I think what being able to, you go into a game and you know you're going to play guard and you're studying all the all the people that you're going to face, multiple positions of, the shade, and you're studying from a different standpoint. You're studying him from I'm playing guard standpoint, so you're really not putting in, most people really wouldn't put a lot of work in to say, okay, hey, if I'm playing center now, this guy I'm going against, what am I going to do here technically wise, technique wise. But I think Tyler is, he's such a, dot the I's, cross the T's type of person. I haven't had that discussion with him, but, he's going to be prepared for whatever we ask him to do, whatever we need him to do. He's been like that since the first day I've been here. He's been consistent, and there's no doubt that, he can start in this league. I believe at center. But what a great asset to have, to know that you can put someone in there and he's going to be prepared, and you can win games with him.
Doug, let's get outside to the wide receiver room, and a couple of guys in the last few weeks who have had some different statistical outputs. Let's start with DJ Chark. Last week, 7 targets, 2 catches, 41 yards. He was inactive a couple weeks ago against Cleveland, of course. But then Colin Johnson, the last 2 weeks, is trending upward. 4 catches each of the last 2 games. First, how do you get DJ back on track, or do you consider him off track at all? And second, how do you keep riding this Colin Johnson wave? Because that's a positive step.
Well, first of all, I think, for DJ, obviously we know about his ribs. So, DJ has been playing, there's a great appreciation now. I think that maybe not the fans or the people that are listening, but, when you're not having the season that you want, it's very easy for guys to check out. It happens around the league. I mean, I've seen it in other teams, but, not from this team. I mean, these guys are battling to come back. Linda's battling to come back. Norwell's battling to come back. DJ battles to come back. So it's just a matter of him getting healthy and getting him going. And he's a guy that, when we take the field, people are looking to stop. I think with Colin Johnson, what's happened is, both him and Laviska basically play the same position. Laviska's been banged up, and he gets out there, and we can see, we all know what he can do with the ball in his hands. And, when he hasn't been out there, I think Colin has been, getting that confidence and really starting to make plays. So, that's encouraging, because we've seen it from him from a standpoint of practices, obviously without the preseason. I think that hurt a player like him that, is coming off an injury in the senior year. And then obviously working his way back, practices well, does everything he can, but then just a game type of experience. But now he's gotten it underneath his belt, and now you're starting to see some production out of him. So, all of this is encouraging. Laviska will be back this week. Colin's up. DJ's back. Keelan Cole's a guy that's been getting open for us. Chris Conley's, will be up. So, we got that group, they're going. They're fighting through these bumps and bruises at the end of the year. And, from a standpoint of a teammate or a coach, that's something that you really appreciate.
Doug, on the other side of the ball, with a guy that's not a young player but a veteran, Dwan Smoot obviously had a really good game against the Vikings, had a pair of sacks and 4 tackles. I always thought that he was a real natural left defensive end, but more in playing the 5 technique. And he's playing really well for you guys now, and in that role that typically would be for Josh Allen. I thought he's doing a great job.
Yeah, I think, he's someone that, he's more of an end for us, that rather than the big end. He goes in there and plays big end, on base downs, but on base downs, he can give you a lot from the end position where Josh Allen played, which is good, being able to hold a point and do that. I think that, as an inside rusher, we've always thought that you can get great production out of him. I think he's done a very good job. I think, some of the things that have helped him, Gano Saxon, Caleb really played his best game last week and really moved the quarterback out. A lot of times, when you're on the outside, it's a matter of being able to take the quarterback, take away him being able to step up, and, those edge rushes coming down, or, someone coming around the corner. And, last week I thought that we did a good job up front. We really did. We were able to get hits on the quarterback. And, as the season's gone along, we've gotten more hits. We've gotten some sacks. But Smoot's doing a nice job there, and the rest of those guys are starting to come along. But it's a group effort. You can see that it's someone's going to win. The other people are going to push and make sure that the quarterback doesn't have anywhere to escape. And that's something that we've got to, we'll be challenged this week. Ryan Tannehill is obviously can run. He can do a lot of different things. So, our pass rush has got to do a good job of containing them in the pocket.
All right, Doug, great stuff as always. Good luck to you this week, and let's finish a game and snap this losing skid on Sunday.
I appreciate it. Thank you, JP. Thank you, Jeff.
Head coach Doug Marrone will also join us on Jags Drive Time tomorrow morning for Coffee with the Coach. We're back in a moment, and we'll continue with the Doug Marrone Show on the Jaguars Radio Network.
Whether you're driving to a Jaguars game or on the way to work, when you see flashing lights, please move over. If you can't move over a lane, slow down 20 miles per hour below the speed limit. You can protect those who help you on the road, from law enforcement and other first responders to utility and tow truck drivers. They all need you to be at the top of your game while you're driving. See lights? Please move over. Brought to you by the Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles and the Florida Highway Patrol.
Superior Fence and Rail knows about commercial fence services, from automatic gates to security fence and railing. Superior Fence and Rail's professional team delivers with great communication, trained installers, and quality products. Trust your next commercial project with a top-rated fence company in Jacksonville. Get off the fence and call Superior Fence and Rail for your commercial project today. SuperiorFenceandRail.com. Jaguars fans, game day is back. And this year we've teamed up with Jameson to add another win to your week with official Jaguars and Jameson branded collectible stadium cups. They're only available for a limited time in the Jacksonville metro area. So grab yours today, pour a smooth Jameson, ginger and lime, and cheer on the Jags with Jameson. Taste responsibly. Jameson Irish Whiskey, 40% alcohol by volume, 80 proof, product of Ireland, copyright 2020, imported by John Jameson Import Company, New York, New York. Hey Jags fans, did you know you can ride your bike to every Jaguars home game at TIAA Bank Field and valet park it for free? That's right. Stop by our bicycle check-in tent, sponsored by Alert Today Florida, near Gate 1 at TIAA Bank Field. An on-duty ZenCog bike professional will park your bike and ensure it's secured during the game. When the game's over, return your claim ticket and pick up your bike. For cycling safety tips, visit alerttodayflorida.com. Remember, Alert Today, alive tomorrow, because safety doesn't happen by accident.
Welcome back to the HananiaAutos.com studio. The Doug Marrone Show continues right now.
Welcome back. The Doug Marrone Show rolls along. Head coach Doug Marrone joins us in the first half hour every Thursday afternoon. Glad you're along with us. JP Shadrick and Jeff Lageman, the Jaguars and the Titans coming up Sunday at TIAA Bank Field in Week 14. And, you know, I found it interesting, the opening thought from Doug tonight about all the work that's going in. And I know it's 11 losses in a row, and it can get you down the way they're losing some of these football games and the attrition they've gone through. They've played the most players in the league this year, 77 different guys. I mean, that's a lot of change and not a lot of positive results, but the work continues. And that's all you can really do is go do your job and do it to the best of your ability.
Well, that's all you can do. And I give this team credit, and I'm going to echo this again or say this again, but the Pittsburgh Steelers game, the Pittsburgh Steelers just played really well, and it was a really good football team against a rookie quarterback, and they made it incredibly difficult for Jake Luton. And that game wasn't close from the onset. But it wasn't because they weren't trying or they weren't giving great effort or anything else. But we've seen teams in the National Football League that get on losing streaks like the Jaguars have, and then they come out and they get boat raced. And when I say boat raced, I mean get blown out of the water, and then the effort stinks, the commitment towards the end of the game, stopping a 4-minute offense. Defensively, they don't get a stop. This team has not done that. They've gotten stops at the end of the games. They've given their offenses chances. The offense has capitalized in some cases, but not capitalized quite enough in others. So it's one of those things where you sit there and you go, why? I mean, this team is working so hard, and they're committed, and they're giving it all, everything they've got. and they're not getting anything in return. But that's just the way the league is. Look, they don't give anything out for effort. You got to earn it. You got to earn the win, and in return, if you get the win, then you get the positive feeling.
Yeah, and there are some, obviously, talent has a lot to play in it. And there's a reason why, you know, if you have your frontline guys on the field on the other side and you're facing a Jags team that doesn't in a lot of places, I mean, that matters, you know. Talent matters, and the Jags just aren't good enough in certain positions right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's the reality, JP, is that this team, they committed to youth. And when you commit to youth, you can sit there and say that you've upgraded your roster, but you don't know. I mean, how do you know? And you can love the team, but the reality is, are you going to love them at the end of the year when the record is not favorable? So it's a tough situation to be in, and that's something that obviously they committed to. And I don't know exactly, you know, where the origins of the decision was, but this being an incredibly challenging year with COVID and having no off season, having no training camp, the decision to go with youth, obviously from a win-loss standpoint, was not a wise one. You know, you'd like to have a little bit more experience, and cap concerns and all that were kind of explained, and that, you know, we had to take the hits, but, you know, it's kind of weird. I never heard any of that stuff in years prior. I mean, it was kind of one of those things where it was just stated kind of in the moment. And so it kind of confused me. But when you have a young team, things like this can happen because you just don't know what you have. And when you're in a COVID situation and you've got remote to where you're trying remote learning and you're trying to evaluate a roster, you know, the one thing they did evaluate right now was James Robinson. But a lot of the other young players on this football team, they got a long ways to go. And I'm not saying that they're all bad, but there's some of them that still have a lot to learn and are probably in a bigger role than they probably should be from a roster standpoint.
Logs will come back in a moment and try to defend Derrick Henry for the Jaguars defense. It's the Doug Marrone Show on Jaguars Radio.
Coach Doug Marrone here, reminding all our Jaguar fans, don't fumble when it comes to driving. One text takes your eyes off the road for 5 seconds. And at 55 miles per hour, that's like driving the entire length of a football field with your eyes closed. To win while driving, you must focus. Keep your hands on the wheel, eyes on the road, and mind on driving. Put it down. Focus on driving. Brought to you by the Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles and the Florida Highway Patrol.
At Tropical Smoothie Cafe, one taste and you're feeling good now, smiling wider now, seeing brighter now, bucket dunking now, namasteing now, popping a wheelie now, living lighter now. You're on Tropic Time now. And on Mondays, try our Jaguars Duval Delight Smoothies for $2.99. And you're roaring louder now, end zone dancing now, sipping spirit now. You're on Tropic Time now at Tropical Smoothie Cafe.
Any repeated physical activity puts stress on the body. Checking your phone, getting in the car, sitting at your desk, checking the phone, getting in your car, sitting at your desk, checking your phone for the 50th time today. If you do anything with regularity, you should get massaged with regularity. Massage Envy. Keep your body working.
Regular body work makes the body work with massage, skincare, and stretch. Come in today for more information or visit massageenvy.com for more details.
Looking to be your own boss in a proven business model? Do you like construction and working outdoors? Superior Fence and Rail is franchising in new markets all over the Southeast, from Birmingham to Savannah and even a few more markets in Florida. Come win with Superior Fence and Rail and redefine the fence industry. So get off the fence and call Superior Fence and Rail to learn more about starting a fence franchise today.
SuperiorFenceandRail.com.
Welcome back to the HananiaAutos.com studio. The Doug Marrone Show continues right now.
Welcome back to the Doug Marrone Show on the Jaguars Radio Network. JP Shadrick with Jeff Lageman. The head coach joins us in the first half hour each and every week right here on the Doug Marrone Show. And, of course, priority number one this week for the Jaguars defense is Derrick Henry. And we've seen the hair thing in the past that flops when he runs and the drawstrings of his pants flying in the breeze as he soars down the sideline, stiff-arming defenders left and right. You know, last week, they were so far behind in the game that they kind of had to get away from him a little bit. He didn't have a big statistical game in last week, but 3 previous games, he had over 100 yards. He's got a 200-yard game against Houston this year, a couple other 100-yard games. Back in week 2, though, Logs, the Jags did a pretty good job of bottling him up for the most part. 25 carries, 84 yards. That seems like a different defense, though, in terms of personnel than the Jags have out there right now.
Certainly. And you go back and you look at what Derrick Henry did against the Cleveland Browns. He had 15 carries for 60 yards. That's not a Derrick Henry type of game. But then you go the week before that against the Indianapolis Colts. He crushed them. I mean, he was darn near 200-something yards, JP? I mean, something in that range?
178. 178 and 3 touchdowns, including the overtime game winner. Yeah.
I mean, you talk about whooping somebody with a running game. I mean, that's old school football now. And if the Tennessee Titans can play old school football against the Jaguars, they're going to do it. They come out every week and they try to play old school football with Derrick Henry. And by the way, his hair doesn't exactly flop in the wind, JP. It's
the bun thing. I don't know what it's called. Yeah.
It's almost like a cone,
the one big dreadlock.
A dread cone, and it's stiff. It doesn't flop, though.
Right. But
it's
just
legal.
highlights
It
over
is
and over
legal
that they
to tackle him with that.
Go ahead. Be my guest. I don't want any part of that.
I'm not doing it.
If you can get your hands on it first,
he'll
be swatting arms
but
away.
I can assure you that I played with a few guys, and I might include myself into that category, that I might have grabbed it to tackle him.
Well, I mean, if he's out in front of you, I don't know. Let's go down this path. But it is a dangerous matchup for the Jaguars defense this week against Derrick Henry. And, of course, as we've said before, once he gets rolling, and, he may not get rolling right away, but they stay with it. It's those body blows early in the game, a yard here, a couple yards there, third quarter comes around, those add up, and then he can break a big one, it feels like, later in the game.
Yeah, I was kind of expecting a little bit of a down performance against the Cleveland Browns just because he had so many yards against the Indianapolis Colts, and it was a big game and a division game, so you were kind of expecting a little bit of a letdown. But I can assure you there will be no letdown this week by the Tennessee Titans, and I think the Jaguars are going to be ready for it. I think this is going to be a close football game, and it could be one that they get. But you better find a way to take the ball away from Tennessee, whether that's interceptions, causing Derrick Henry to cough the ball up, something. But you better protect the ball yourself. I can tell you that, because if you don't, you're not going to have a chance.
Yeah, you give it up, and they have more possessions, and that's how that goes, obviously. So that's priority number one, defending Henry. Let's come back in a moment. We'll get into the Jaguars offense now. Mike Glennon gets his 3rd consecutive start. James Robinson continues to shine. And we'll see about the wide receivers as well. This is the Doug Marrone Show on the Jaguars Radio Network.
Whether you're driving to a Jaguars game or on the way to work, when you see flashing lights, please move over. If you can't move over a lane, slow down 20 miles per hour below the speed limit. You can protect those who help you on the road, from law enforcement and other first responders to utility and tow truck drivers. They all need you to be at the top of your game while you're driving. See lights? Please move over. Brought to you by the Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles and the Florida Highway Patrol.
At ViStar, we believe in better, especially in helping build a better financial future for our members. So we've reviewed our offerings from the ground up. We've lowered or eliminated over half our fees and enhanced our already competitive rates, saving members more than $1 million this year, in addition to the millions we save them every year. If you believe that saving money is better, join ViStar. We never forget that it's your money. All loans subject to approval, insured by NCUA.
You won't find a better deal to keep your ride clean than Scrubble's Flexible Service Car Wash. Start in the tunnel wash and experience state-of-the-art equipment while enjoying a soapy light show. Our quality soaps and solutions keep your vehicle streak-free. Every 3-minute car wash package comes with self-serve vacuuming, lint-free towels, window cleaner, and a free air freshener. Visit us at the St. John's Town Center, Fleming Island, and Atlantic Beach. And coming soon to Kernan and Atlantic. Trust the bow tie. You'll know quality once you arrive. Go Jags!
The wait for the holidays is over, America. It's time to make some joy. And we're here to help with the Ford Built for the Holidays sales event. We're offering the best deals of the season across the Ford lineup, so you can road trip with the whole family comfortably in a Ford Expedition. Bring home a tree that's bigger than you ever have with a built Ford Tough F-150. And find new ways to make the holidays bright this year when you visit your local Ford dealer. The joy is up to you, America, so let's get to it. Ford, built for the holidays.
Jaguars fans, game day is back. And this year we've teamed up with Jameson to add another win to your week with official Jaguars and Jameson branded collectible stadium cups. They're only available for a limited time in the Jacksonville metro area. So grab yours today, pour a smooth Jameson, ginger and lime, and cheer on the Jags with Jameson. Taste responsibly. Jameson Irish Whiskey, 40% alcohol by volume, 80 proof, product of Ireland, copyright 2020, imported by John Jameson Import Company, New York, New York. Superior Fence and Rail knows about commercial fence services, from automatic gates to security fence and railing. Superior Fence and Rail's professional team delivers with great communication, trained installers, and quality products. Trust your next commercial project with a top-rated fence company in Jacksonville. Get off the fence and call Superior Fence and Rail for your commercial project today.
SuperiorFenceandRail.com.
Welcome back to the HananiaAutos.com studio. The Doug Marrone Show continues right now.
Welcome back to the Doug Marrone Show. Continues. JP Shadrick, Jeff Lageman from our home studios. Head coach Doug Marrone with us in the first half hour every Thursday evening. Glad you're along with us as well as the Jaguars prepare to entertain the Tennessee Titans in Week 14. It's a 1 o'clock kickoff time at TIAA Bank Field this Sunday. Mike Glennon gets his third consecutive start logs. Week 1, his first outing, was pretty good. Didn't get a win, but it was a pretty good outing, at least statistically. Last week, three giveaways, 2 interceptions, including the one in overtime. He lost a fumble. He was sacked for a safety as well at one point in the fourth quarter, early in the fourth. But that overtime interception was, he said after the game he definitely wanted to have that one back because it set up the long drive that melted the clock and got the field goal to win in overtime for Minnesota. So now he's getting another shot, and Mike Glennon trying to bounce back. What kind of week can you expect from Glennon this week?
Well, I don't know. I hope you see something that's more similar to 2 weeks ago than this past week, because this past week, the decision that he made there at the end of the ball game where he throws the interception was poor. Harrison Smith is right there as a deep half safety, and it's over the top of the route. It's an easy decision to see that and then throw it underneath, and he admitted it. And then he also had a play earlier in the game to where he missed some throws where he was high. And then one play in particular where Keelan Cole was running a deep over route on kind of a levels concept. And Keelan Cole is the middle guy, and it's an easy completion if he sees it, but he doesn't see it. Saw a little flash of pressure, and then his eyes dropped, and then all of a sudden, now the play can't be made. So he's got to be better. He's got to be more like he was 2 weeks ago if the Jaguars are going to have a chance to win, and hopefully even a little bit better than that. But the reality is that if you look at that performance 2 weeks ago, that's one of his better performances he's ever had as a pro. So what more can you expect?
All right. I mean, if that's the high water mark, then that's going to be the best day for Glennon moving ahead. And we've said this on an earlier show tonight here in Jacksonville, Logs. I mean, Glennon, Luton, Minshew, you get the idea that, none of these guys are the future starting quarterback in 2021 and beyond around here.
Yeah, I don't think so. But, I mean, who knows what the future holds, JP? I mean, that's going to be plenty of conversation that we can have in the offseason. But the reality is right now is that the quarterback position for the Jaguars is not good enough. It's got to be better. You got to find a guy that can help take you to the promised land, can help you win consistently, that can give you consistency year after year. Jay Gruden talked about it, how he's had to deal with so many different quarterbacks going all the way back to his days with the Washington Redskins, because that's what it was when he was there. But if you don't have stability at that position, it's incredibly hard to win football games.
Really difficult. And, of course, a new picker of players coming for the Jacksonville Jaguars in the offseason as well. Hey, let's come back. Some final thoughts ahead of this Jaguars-Titans matchup coming up Sunday at TIAA Bank Field. This is the Doug Marrone Show on Jaguars Radio.
Coach Doug Marrone here, reminding all our Jaguar fans, don't fumble when it comes to driving. One text takes your eyes off the road for 5 seconds. And at 55 miles per hour, that's like driving the entire length of a football field with your eyes closed. To win while driving, you must focus. Keep your hands on the wheel, eyes on the road, and mind on driving. Put it down. Focus on driving. Brought to you by the Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles and the Florida Highway Patrol.
Hey, Jags fans, did you know you can ride your bike to every Jaguars home game at TIAA Bank Field and valet park it for free? That's right. Stop by our bicycle check-in tent, sponsored by Alert Today Florida, near Gate 1 at TIAA Bank Field. An on-duty ZenCog bike professional will park your bike and ensure it's secured during the game. When the game's over, return your claim ticket and pick up your bike. For cycling safety tips, visit alerttodayflorida.com. Remember, Alert Today, alive tomorrow, because safety doesn't happen by accident.
The wait for the holidays is over, America. It's time to make some joy. And we're here to help with the Ford Built for the Holidays sales event. We're offering the best deals of the season across the Ford lineup, so you can road trip with the whole family comfortably in a Ford Expedition. Bring home a tree that's bigger than you ever have with a built Ford Tough F-150. And find new ways to make the holidays bright this year when you visit your local Ford dealer. The joy is up to you, America, so let's get to it. Ford, built for the holidays.
Jaguars fans, game day is back. And this year we've teamed up with Jameson to add another win to your week with official Jaguars and Jameson branded collectible stadium cups. They're only available for a limited time in the Jacksonville metro area. So grab yours today, pour a smooth Jameson, ginger and lime, and cheer on the Jags with Jameson. Taste responsibly. Jameson Irish Whiskey, 40% alcohol by volume, 80 proof, product of Ireland, copyright 2020, imported by John Jameson Import Company, New York, New York. Looking to be your own boss in a proven business model? Do you like construction and working outdoors? Superior Fence and Rail is franchising in new markets all over the Southeast, from Birmingham to Savannah and even a few more markets in Florida. Come win with Superior Fence and Rail and redefine the fence industry. So get off the fence and call Superior Fence and Rail to learn more about starting a fence franchise today.
SuperiorFenceandRail.com. The best way to feel love is to share it. At Hanania Subaru of Orange Park, we always go the extra mile with bigger selection, more savings, our best service. Only Subaru of Orange Park gives you a nationwide lifetime warranty and 1-year complimentary maintenance on new and used vehicles. Plus, when you get a new Subaru during the Subaru Share the Love event, Subaru will donate $250 to your choice of charities. At Hanania Subaru of Orange Park, online at SubaruofOrangePark.com. See dealer website for full details.
Welcome back to the HananiaAutos.com studio. The Doug Marrone Show continues right now.
Welcome back. Final moments of the Doug Marrone Show heading into Week 14. The Jags and the Titans in the AFC South. The Titans at the top of the division. Really because of division record. They have an identical record as Tennessee. They've split the head-to-head matchup. But the Jags win over the Colts in Week 1 is the difference in the division at the top of the standings right now, Logs. How about that?
Yeah, that's right. Tennessee is 3-1 in the division. Indianapolis is 2-2. So Tennessee is sitting in the catbird seat. And obviously this is a big game because if the Jaguars beat Tennessee, then Indianapolis is obviously going to have an opportunity. So it's going to be definitely a good race going down to the end between Tennessee and Indianapolis.
Unfortunately, the Jaguars are at the bottom of the table, if you will, in English terms. 1-11. 1-3 in the division. That lone win against the Colts back in Week 1, trying to snap it this week against the Titans. You know, we promised wide receiver talk. Let's get to it now quickly here. You know, there's guys going in two different directions, it felt like. You know, Chark's been banged up a little bit recently, but last week 7 targets, only 2 catches. Colin Johnson has made the most of his opportunity. And Doug said earlier this week, Logs, that, you know, he's a smart guy, Colin Johnson. Maybe he was just thinking a little too much, and now he's said, hey, just go out, play football, use your athleticism, and let it come naturally. And it seems like Colin has taken that to heart.
Yeah, well, you could tell that something just wasn't right earlier in the year. He was mistiming his jumps, trying to high point balls. He dropped balls, and typically those were things that he was making look pretty routine throughout watching him in training camp practice. And so it's just a matter of gaining some confidence, getting a little bit of experience. And he's a really good player. And I keep saying this, but I believe this. He gets great separation, and he's got great size. And typically wide receivers that do those two things and with good speed, he's got a chance to be really good. And the combination of him and Laviska growing up together with the Jaguars, I think it's very positive for the Jaguars wide receiver group. Right now they have a really good group, and obviously there's some contractual things that got to be worked out going forward. But it is by far the strength of this football team right now.
No doubt. And, just got to keep Shenault healthy. That's the one thing that he's been battling through at least his rookie year.
Well, look, JP, he plays a physical brand of football. I mean, that may be something that happens with him. Because when you play wide receiver, but you're physical and you play more like a running back, that may be just what it is for Laviska.
Yeah, that'll be the week-to-week storyline, it feels like, if you're taking contact in the league. And he doesn't go to the ground a lot either. He's getting hit by 2 or 3 guys to try to bring him to the ground. That is a lot of contact. How about tonight on television in Jacksonville? Jaguars All Access on Fox 30 at 7. What do you got tonight, Logs?
All you need to know, JP, is we have Brent Martineau. Does that
what
not sell it right there?
What else do you need?
Now we
don't need anything
Josh
else.
Allen. We've got a couple plays from the football lab. One of them is going to be the interception pick 6 by Joe Schobert. We're also going to look at a tackle for a loss by Trey Herndon, because obviously stopping the run is going to be a very main focal point of the defensive game plan this week with Derrick Henry, and they got to find a way to populate. And that's a fancy term for meaning you better get a lot of guys or a lot of hats on Derrick Henry.
Yeah, well, it'll come up tonight on Jaguars All Access. We'll look forward to that on television here in Jacksonville coming up. The Jaguars and the Titans in Week 14. And, it's been a long season. But there are 4 opportunities left, Logs, for this football team. And, there's a feeling they're right there on the edge. If they can just finish a couple of these, they can get a couple of W's before the end of the year.
Yeah, there's a lot of Jaguar fans that are out there going, don't get the W's. Because it's all about trying to find that guy that can play quarterback. So, and I understand it. And that's part of the conversation that you have when you're right at the bottom of the league as far as the number of wins. And that's okay. I mean, that's part of the conversation when you are what you are.
All right, Logs, great stuff as always. Have a great show tonight on television in Jacksonville, and we will talk to you again on Sunday in the Publix Tailgate Show here in Jacksonville and countdown to kickoff here on the network. Have a good one, Logs.
Thank you, JP.
All right, Jeff Lageman out of here. Our thanks to head coach Doug Marrone for his time every week here on this program. Brent Reber and our entire crew back in the studio. Joe Fortunato pushing the buttons for everyone involved. I'm JP Shadrick, and we'll catch you next time. This has been the Doug Marrone Show on the Jaguars Radio Network.